Alright guys, so we are here enjoying part 2 of the Worldwide Celebration campaign, which means we've now had a chance to go ahead and try out the Carnival LR Gohan and the Dokkan Fest LR Broly. So now I think is the perfect time for me to go ahead and set myself up to be crucified by making a top 10 LR ranking video, including the Worldwide Celebration LRs, which is what we're going to be doing in the vid today. Now, as you see right in front of you, typical kind of 1 through 10 setup here. Also down here we have what I call the pool. Now the pool is just basically an extra tier that I made so that I can show all of the LRs I will be talking about in the video without spoiling their placements on my top 10 personal rankings. So that is what it is, simply put. As you see right here, the LRs we have are Carnival LR Jiren, Dokkan Fest Broly, Carnival LR Gohan, the Tech Carnival LR Broly, of course, from part 1 of the celebration, also the Goku Gohan and Trunks from part 1 of the celebration as well, Tech UI Goku, Beast Gohan, Cell Max, Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta, and MUI Goku. So no units here are that crazy in terms of picks, but it is going to be a fun vid nonetheless for myself and hopefully for you guys as well. But how we're going to do this, right? We're going to go ahead, start off at number 10, work our way up to number 1. Very simple, very straightforward, and it should be pretty easy in terms of how we're going to do this. Also, I do have all of the kits pulled up here so that as I put up units in their spots, I can go ahead and talk about them in terms of why I have them, where I do have them on this list. Hey, what's up guys? Editing Sky here, and I'm not gonna lie, I did not realize how long this video was going to be when I was recording it. I was definitely going crazy and yapping, but what I went ahead and did is I went and put in some chapters so that way you guys can go ahead and skip to when I talk about each of the numbers in the top 10 rankings, so that way you guys don't have to wait too long to see how the list kind of breaks down. Now, if you guys want to watch the whole video and show your support, by all means, I encourage you to do so, and I would so appreciate it. But at the same time, for your guys' sake, if you want to go ahead and take advantage of those chapters, by all means, please do so that way you guys have the best sort of enjoyment you possibly can with this video. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Sorry about the whole kind of interruption here, and let's go ahead and get back into the video. Anyways, all that out of the way though, let's go ahead now and get started with the number 10 spot. And the number 10 spot is going to be going to the boy, the bald man himself, Carnival LR Jiren. Now, for me personally, I think all 10 of these LRs are fantastic, awesome units, and Jiren, of course, is a part of the 10. But for me personally, I do think I have Jiren down here mainly because he just does not provide nearly as much, in my opinion, as the other 9 LRs above him in this list. Now, we do have Jiren's kit, of course, here, so when we look at Jiren, whoever designed Jiren's kit made sure that they made him as Jiren as possible. And I am putting that in terms of an adjective right there, I guess, because Jiren basically has a very simple passive in terms of what he has, but in terms of what he is given, he is still dialing up to 9, 10, maybe 11 in that regard, because his stat boosts are crazy, his damage reduction is pretty crazy as well, 50% right there, plus the extra 11% as the second or third slot unit. Also, he can disable an enemy action the first time he shows up in the turn, so that is going to be something that is very helpful about Jiren. But also, I mean, in terms of the criticisms for Jiren as well, this is a very limited passive, right? He does not have guard, for example. He doesn't have dodge. He's not supporting his allies. He does have a high chance to stun, to be fair, with his 18 key super, so there is that if you can apply it. But also, you know, even things like his whole disabling the enemy action, that's only available the first time Jiren shows up in his base form. The next time he shows up in his base form, he cannot do this, so you are losing a part of his passive if you have him last for 2 or 3 turns or something like that, so that can be a bit frustrating for sure. Aside from that though, we go ahead into the standby. The standby, by the way, lasts for 5 turns, and this is probably one of, if not the best parts about Jiren, because in this standby, Jiren is one of, if not the most defensive powerhouses in the game. Like, he is just so powerful in terms of being a defensive beast, because we see right here, yes, he cannot attack, but his defense is through the roof. He's giving allies ki. He has 50% damage reduction plus 11% per key sphere obtained, so that's going to help him be very tanky. Extra defense right there when he receives an attack, able to change orbs, which will allow him to get more key spheres, to allow him to get more damage reduction, so it all kind of feeds back into itself. And then also, in the second or third slot, he is actually supporting his allies with additional attacks, so that can be very helpful as well. So, all things considered, Jiren's standby is really powerful and very good, and actually, it might be one of the best parts about Jiren in terms of his design. But now that we go into the full power mode, right, this is where Jiren becomes more Jiren-y in that sense, because for one, his whole 18 key super, right, instead of having a chance to stun, now it is a guaranteed stun. That's already just a stepping stone further into the more powerful kind of direction. Also with his passive skill, right? More stat boost, more damage reduction, also being able to boost his stats even more when he attacks. He has a chance to perform a crit right here. Also, he's able to actually have guaranteed hits right here when his ki is 24. So any sort of dodging kind of opponent, Jiren does not care about that. He is going to hit them when his ki is 24. So that's going to be really nice as well. Also, he is boosting his attack by 50% with each super that he takes head on. So that's kind of incentivizing you to put him in a position where he can take supers. And also, aside from that, he does have here for the first turn that he shows up in his full power mode, a scouter and additional damage reduction right here for that first turn. Now, in terms of flaws, I will say, again, no guarding, no dodging, no supporting his allies when he's in this full power mode. Now, this may be accurate to Jiren's as a character, but at the same time, these are still issues with Jiren's kit in terms of what he is not offering compared to some of the others on the list, right? And also, I mean, we talk about the whole damage reduction, that's really good, but also, the damage reduction, he is missing out on this 11% every other turn after the first turn that he shows up in his full power, and on top of that, he is missing out on the scouter after the first turn that he shows up. So the scouter is only good for one turn, afterwards it's gone, and that does suck, because Jiren wants to be hit by supers to kind of make himself even more powerful. Also, to that note, it is worth mentioning, even with the damage reduction, even with the stat boost, he can still be hit by supers pretty hard. I've had him personally take serious damage from Tech Gogeta in the whole Gogeta Blue Supreme Battle Spectacle kind of fight. So I've had him take serious damage there, even with the damage reduction, even with the crazy stat boost, even with crazy links. He can still take some damage. So if he had guard and other things like that, I would be inclined to put him higher on this list. But I think right now, number 10 is a perfectly appropriate spot for him. And actually, I may go ahead and put a gap underneath Jiren at like the 11th spot or something, because I think Jiren definitely does define a new level in terms of how powerful all of these units are in that sort of regard. So that is what I will say about Jiren. Now going to number 9 though. Number 9 may be an interesting pick for some of you guys, but I'm going to go ahead and take MUI Goku right here at number 9. And actually, I might as well go ahead and put Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta at number 8 as well, because I do believe these two come as a set. You really cannot talk about one without the other in that regard. So I do personally have Vegeta above Goku just by a sliver, just by a touch, and I will explain why in just a moment, but I do believe they belong at number 9 and number 8 for me personally. Now, going into MUI, why I have him where he is, MUI Goku has a lot of wonderful things to offer. Same can be said for Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta. But when it comes to Goku, there are a couple of things that I do not like about his kit, and maybe I'm being a bit of a hater here, but I still think these things are just problematic enough for me that I will be inclined to put him that low on the list, even though he is still a fantastic unit and a fantastic LR. But when we talk about the good things about him, right? For one, with the super attack effects, he is doing crazy damage. Now, he is not boosting his defense with his super attack effects. That is kind of annoying. But at the same time, he really doesn't need to, because he is a dodging type of unit. He is built to dodge, and when you are dodging attacks, you are not having to worry about how much defense you have to tank, because the dodge is going to basically make it so the attack doesn't hit you anyways. So in that sort of sense, it is fine. But at the same time, it is still kind of a negative in terms of the specifics of the game's kind of design, because yeah, if Goku ends up taking a hit, that extra defense could be valuable, except we won't be able to see it because he's not doing that with his super attack effect. Now, another positive though, on the kind of lighter side of things, he is boosting all allies in terms of giving them crit chance in their whole kind of super attack effect. Right now, it is a small amount, to be fair, only 7%, so not that crazy. But at the same time, 7% can make the difference between your allies actually doing a critical hit with their own attacks and them not doing a crit with their attacks. So, you know, 7%, yes, it's small, but it still can make an impact, and we gotta give credit where credit is due. UI Goku being a support right there, that is fan-freaking-tastic. Now though, when we look at the passive, this is the bread and butter. This is what makes UI Goku so crazy. Now we start off with the top, right? Evades all enemy attacks guaranteed for the first turn that he shows up. So, doesn't matter, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, the first time that MUI Goku shows up, he is the safest character on planet Earth, unless you are basically facing an opponent with dodge nullification. So, if they are nullifying dodge, then yes, MUI Goku can't dodge, so that means he will take every hit head on to his face, and that will suck. But other than that, he is the safest character on planet Earth for that first turn, because no hit is going to hit him guaranteed. So that is fantastic. And, you know, I'll skip ahead through his passive, right? But, you know, for that turn, right, any sort of attack that he is dodging, he is basically boosting his defense by 30% up to 150%. So yes, he's not boosting his defense with the super attack effects, but he is at least boosting his defense with the attacks that he is dodging, and that first turn is guaranteed dodge, so that is going to be fantastic for him right there. Also, in his kit, right, a nice kind of 200% to his stats right there, a bonus kind of stats if HP is 77% or more. He has a 77% chance to dodge, as well as a chance to launch an additional guaranteed super for more damage. Also, within the turn, for each attack he is already evading, within that same turn, he will be further boosting his chance to dodge, which that can make him pretty crazy. If he's dodging 2-3 attacks, then his dodge chance will be even more crazy, so that will make him even better and better within the turn. So all of that is to say that, MUI Goku, he has a lot of wonderful things to offer, and we're still getting started right in that sense. Also, he has additional attack and performs a guaranteed crit when activating the active or when key is 24, so that can be very helpful as well. Also, right here, this is a very valuable part of MUI Goku, right, is his revival skill. So when his HP is 77% or less, that is a very accessible kind of a requirement, if you will. When HP is 77% or less, revives with 77% HP recovered when the character or an ally in the same turn is KO'd. Also, when the character's or an ally's revival skill is activated, he will be boosting his own stats and key, and then if it is his own revival skill, I should say, then he's getting another turn of guaranteed dodge. So there is a lot of things that UI Goku has to offer, and they are so good. They are so powerful. All the dodging, all the, stat boost and everything. He has a lot of nice things, and the revival, of course, being so accessible. That is something I do love. But at the same time, I do have issues with MUI Goku, and really, the issues kind of go hand in hand with the things that make him so good. For one, his revival skill, right? His revival skill is such an easy kind of thing to activate and to achieve, right? But at the same time, the problem for his active skill, for me personally, is that it is based on the condition that you enter the turn with HP being 77% or less. Now, in some cases, this can be very easy to achieve, but in other fights, and depending on the team comp you have, this can be very difficult because other units on your team may end up not taking that much damage themselves. So let's say you enter a turn at 80% HP, let's just say. The revival will not be up, but then within that turn, you have MUI Goku, let's just say, and then you fall below 77% HP, that will still not allow the revival to be triggered because the revival was not available to begin the turn. So in that sort of sense, I do have issues with the whole kind of requirement because yes, it is accessible, but it can also be inconsistent. Inconsistency, I think, is the one word to potentially describe MUI in terms of some parts of his kit, because yeah, the revival skill, so available, but also sometimes it can be there, other times it can choose not to be there, so that can be very annoying. Also, another part of his kit that's kind of required on HP thresholds right here. HP 77% or more, that gives him another additional stat boost for his attack and defense. Now, this is a minor part in terms of his passive, right? But at the same time, this is still an important part for boosting his damage, which is something he does with the super attack effects. And also defense is important since he's not boosting defense with the super attack effects. And, he is dodging, but if he chooses not to dodge early on, he still can take some damage. So him having that extra defense, that can be important. And if your HP is 77% or less, or actually below that metric, I should say, and then if you don't have the revival, Goku can be hurt. Goku can be hurt quite badly, and also, no damage reduction. There's no guard for him, so yes, he is built to dodge, and that is something he can do in spades. But yeah, he can still be tagged with some serious hits if he does not dodge early on. So that is something I gotta hold against MUI Goku, and unfortunately that is why I'm going to be putting him at number 9, even though I love him so much. He is so powerful, so fun, so awesome. He fits onto so many great categories. I think for those reasons specifically, I do have to put him at number 9 for me personally. Now, we talked about Vegeta, of course. Going to Vegeta, Vegeta is very similar to Goku, but also he is still different in terms of what he has to offer compared to Goku as well. There are some slight differences between the two. Now, when it comes to his super attack effects, we see he's not really focused on his attack as much. He is more so focused on his defense, and that is something that is good because he is basically designed to take hits head on, not really trying to dodge them. So that is something we do need from him. Also able to boost allies crit chance in the same way as MUI Goku, so the same kind of the same props that we gave to MUI Goku for that, same props we have to give to Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta for that reason. Being able to support allies, even by a small amount, is still supporting them. So that is something that we absolutely love. Now, when it comes to the passive, right, he is not like MUI Goku. For that first turn, he is not getting guaranteed dodge or anything like that. Instead, he is getting guaranteed guard for the first turn that he shows up, and that is going to be very helpful for him because he is a unit built to the brim with damage reduction. Now, we see the same kind of stat boost right here. 50% damage reduction to start, plus an additional 10% within the same turn with each attack he receives or evades up to 30%. So within any turn that he shows up, he has 50% up to 80% damage reduction that he can have, and that can be very helpful for him in terms of tanking a lot of the heavy boss kind of damage, super attacks, and all that sort of stuff. Aside from that, with each attack he performs, it does not matter if it's a super or anything like that, he will be boosting his ki, and he will be boosting both his attack and defense up to 120%. So that will allow him to do more damage and be able to tank even more, which is something we love to see for a unit with damage reduction. We keep going forward, right? Launches a guaranteed additional attack, which will help him, by the way, boost his own kind of a stat boost right here. But launches an additional guaranteed attack with a 77% chance to become a super. So that, of course, will allow him to boost his defense even more. That's something we will love to see right there. Also right here, plus an additional attack plus 77% and performs a crit when doing the active or when ki is 24. This is the same as with MUI. And also right here, this is all related to his revival skill. So just like MUI, Vegeta has a revival skill, and his revival skill I actually like a bit more for a specific reason, which we'll see right here, right? So at the start of the character's turn, after the character receives 5 attacks or more in battle, revives with 77% HP recovered when the character or an ally in the same turn is KO'd. When the character's or an ally's revival skill is activated, also gives himself additional ki and attack and defense boost, just like MUI Goku. And if it's this Vegeta's character revival skill that is activated, then he will get another turn where he guaranteed guards all attacks in the next turn that he shows up. So kind of similar to MUI Goku, I would argue that his kind of the boost that he gets from the revival is a bit less compared to MUI Goku, because the whole guaranteed dodge is still better than the whole guaranteed guard. But here's the thing. Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta's revival condition is far more consistent, and that is something I really do like about Vegeta, is there is nothing in his kit that goes away if you're outside of a certain HP threshold or something like that. Now yes, he may start off a bit weaker because the 50% damage reduction means he still can get tagged in the wrong position early on, but after like 1 or 2 hits, he will be fine. He will not be taking any damage. So yes, he starts off maybe a bit weaker, but he is still more consistent. There are not things like MUI Goku where he's losing stats because he's below a certain HP threshold, or he will potentially not have the revival in certain turns because he's above a certain HP threshold like MUI Goku. For him, you take 5 hits, you could probably do that within 1 or 2 turns at the most, and then afterwards, his revival is up every single turn that he shows up, which means he's basically one of the most consistent revivals to have in the game, and it's very easy to have his revival up and running. So for me, I do think him and MUI Goku go hand in hand. Their passers are damn near kind of designed the same, right? But at the same time, I do prefer Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta above MUI Goku because he does feel, at least in my opinion, a bit more consistent in terms of his whole passive and what it has to offer. So that is good enough for me to at least have him at the number 8 spot, even though, again, they really both are in the kind of hand-in-hand kind of position right there. Now, number 7, this may be one of the 2 or 3 kind of unit positions where I may get crucified. I'm going to say that right now. And number 7 is going to be going to Cell Maximum right here. I'm going to put him at number 7. And I'm already imagining some of you guys going to the comments down below saying, Sky, you are in fact a dumbass for having Cell Max so low on this list. But let me explain why I have Cell Max so low, because this is a personal kind of opinion for me, but yeah, I do think Cell Max kind of deserves to be in the spot for what he has to offer and certain kind of conditional issues and stuff like that that he does have. So, we go ahead to Cell Max. Cell Max, to his props, he just does insane damage. A lot of people kind of describe him as like the knockoff Beast Gohan in that sort of sense, and I think that is true to a degree. But also, to be fair, I think he is slightly different from Beast Gohan to the point where you probably would say that they are not exactly the same kind of unit one-to-one, where Cell Max is a knockoff of Beast Gohan in terms of what he has to offer. For one, when we look at the super attack effects, he is only greatly raising his attack for 1 turn. So not boosting the defense, that can be kind of frustrating when you need the defense to kind of help him tank in certain situations. I will say from experience, I have had him take serious damage and actually lose me fights before. And it's like a situation where you're like, Cell Max has got this, he's no problem. And then bam, he gets knocked out and you're like, huh? What happened to Cell Max? He was supposed to be fine. And then in those situations, you think to yourself, I wish he had more defense in his kind of super attack effects. That would allow him maybe to tank even better. That could be something that would be very clutch. But unfortunately, in those situations, I've had it where he's failed me, so for me, I do wish he had defense in his super attack effects, but it is what it is. He is more so focused on being an offensive powerhouse, and his name even describes it, right? The ultimate weapon. He's not the ultimate shield, he's the ultimate weapon to bring destruction. So he is focused on the offensive powerhouse, and he does do that to a great degree. Now, when it comes to the passive skill, right, this is one of the better parts about Cell Max, right? He has an intro animation starting from the character's attacking turn if there is another artificial life form or super boss's category ally on the team, and for 3 turns gains additional attack and defense plus 100%, guaranteed guard against all attacks, and performs an additional attack that's a high chance to become a super. Now this is one of the great things about Cellmax, right? It's a very easy condition to meet for his intro. He'll be boosting his stats for 3 turns, and he will have guaranteed guard against all attacks, and we will want that because down here in his passive, he's incentivized to not only perform attacks but also receive attacks, so that is going to be a benefit for him. 300% to his stats at the start of turn, that is crazy. We love to see that from Cellmax. Also, boosting his attack per attack performed up to 100%, that is really nice right there. Also, boosting his defense per attack received, that is nice right there. However, having to take attacks to boost your attack even further, or excuse me, having to take hits to boost your defense even further, that is what I mean to say. Having to take attacks to further boost your defense is kind of sucky because, yes, Cellmax's defense is going to be pretty high to start things off. He's going to have the guard, so that will all protect him. But at the same time, it still is a kind of design in his passive that really does suck in terms of what he has to offer. It would be nicer if he was able to boost both his attack and defense with each attack performed. That would actually make him so crazy. But still, having to receive those attacks can be kind of annoying. And yes, he does have the guard to help him out. But still, I do not necessarily like that much, even though it does help that he gets more defense in his passive. Now when it comes down here, right, performs an additional that has a high chance to become a super, which again will allow him to boost his attack to crazy amounts. That is something that's really nice. Gain an additional defense plus 250% and reduces damage received by 30% if all allies in the same turn are artificial life forms, super bosses, or movie bosses category allies. Gain an additional attack plus 250% and boosts a chance to perform a crit by 30% whenever there are no superhero category allies in the same turn, and also perform an additional guaranteed super within the same turn after receiving a super attack. So in a similar sense to Jiren, right, he is kind of incentivizing you to let him take a super head on. Now, for Jiren, he was allowing you to take a super before or after his super attacks were done. For Cellmax, you want him to take a super basically in slot 1 before he does his attacks so that he can get that additional super attack guaranteed. Otherwise, you can't really take advantage of this part of his passive. So I do think it's kind of nice. At the same time, I don't really like it that much because it's very kind of niche in terms of where you can take advantage of this. You really can't take advantage of it like with Jiren in slot 2 or slot 3 potentially. You need this to be in slot 1 and you need him to take a super before he does his attacks for this to be available. So that is something nice, but it is still a very niche kind of mechanic in his passive, and I don't necessarily like it for that reason. Now also, here's the thing about Cellmax. When it comes to what he has to offer, he has a lot of nice things. But also, right here, this whole kind of 30% damage reduction, all that sort of stuff, I really wish it was not limited to certain category allies being on the same turn, right? Artificial Lifeform Super Bosses, he leads the categories, so that is something that he can easily kind of take advantage of. Also, you do want at least one other ally of either category for the intro, so that is going to incentivize you more. But at the same time, you really are forced into certain kind of teams to make Cellmax really reach his full potential. Now, to be fair, Artificial Lifeforms right now, that is a fantastic team to run with all the Majin Boos and everything. Super Bosses with all the right units, that can be a fantastic team. Movie Bosses with all the Brolys and everything, that is a fantastic team as well. So Cellmax is eating good in those teams because all of the other units in the teams are really good as well, making the team kind of work cohesively really well, right? But at the same time, we're talking about Cellmax individually. I gotta kind of hold him against the fact that, he still has category restrictions in his passive, and those things do kind of hurt him for me in terms of my placement, because I'm looking at this, I'm saying, the guard is going to be going at some point eventually, which means he is all stats. He's not even boosting his defense with his super attack effect. The damage reduction is going to be so important. And if I'm forced into a situation where he's into certain teams, that can be kind of frustrating for me, especially maybe as a new player where I don't necessarily have all of the movie bosses units or the super bosses units or the artificial lifeform category allies. Those are things where I can say, yeah, maybe Cellmax would be kind of annoying for me. Now also, we have to talk about another really important thing about Cellmax, his active skill. This is one of, if not maybe potentially the best things about Cellmax, is that with his active skill, he is able to taunt for 1 turn. He has defense plus 999%, which means he is going to be one of the best healers in the game, because with all that defense, he gets 1 red orb. He's going to be healing everything. And then also, he's going to be doing damage and all that sort of stuff. So he's going to tank, he's going to do damage, he's going to be able to heal. It's going to be fantastic. Now, as far as the activation conditions, turn 4, if all the attacking allies are either in Artificial Lifeform or Super Bosses, or from turn 6, if all allies are Extreme Class. So, pretty easy kind of a condition to meet. And, I mean, credit where credit is due. This is one of, if not the best kind of taunts in the game right now. But also, I see a lot of people hype up taunts because they're so good, and I gotta give credit. Taunts are so good. Within the turn, you activate them for protecting your weaker allies from basically getting their asses kicked. However, this is only a one-turn taunt. It's not for like several turns. You can't activate it multiple times. So I do wish the taunt could be available multiple times. Maybe that would be broken, and I'm sure it actually would be broken. But at the same time, only available for one turn. I like to hype it up, but I don't want to basically give Cellmax the credit of saying, man, this taunt is so great, it basically makes Cellmax the best in the game. Like, I don't want to go down that road. Because yes, the taunt is so good, but it's only for one turn, and fights typically do not last one turn. They last at least 2, 3, 4, 5 turns, and yes, you can time it to make the best advantage of it, but at the same time, you know, if a fight continues onward after that, yeah, the taunt is not going to be there anymore. So those are the things that kind of make me not want to hype up a taunt too much. But yeah, I got to give credit where credit is due. Cellmax's taunt is one of, if not the best in the game, and we got to love it because of what he can do, especially in certain teams like Super Bosses where they don't necessarily have that many other great defensive units potentially in certain situations. Cellmax's taunt will protect them. So that is something we got to give credit for. Now, when it comes to categories, I do want to bring this up because for Cellmax, it is something that I do kind of hold against him, even though I don't really bring it up for a lot of other characters. But there is a reason why I bring this up, is because in the categories, right, he's only on a few: Artificial Lifeform, Super Bosses, Movie Bosses, Androids, Last Resort, which is basically Final Trump Card, Battle of Fate, and Uncontrollable Power, which is a new category from the celebration, right? For 7 categories, he's basically being asked to fit into only 3 of them. Now, to be fair, within these 3 categories, there are a lot of units who also fit into other things like Androids potentially, or Uncontrollable Power, or Battle of Fate, but at the same time, I mean, he's still basically being relegated to 3 of the categories of the 7 that he has to offer. So, yes, you can find ways to kind of work things into the other categories, but it is still frustrating that for a unit with multiple categories, and to be fair, there's only 7, so it's kind of limited, it is kind of frustrating that he's basically forced into 3 of the 7. So I do kind of wish that this kind of conditional part of his passive was gone, and he was just given that 30% after like a certain amount of turns. That would make him so awesome for me. But that whole kind of category restriction type of stuff, I do hate that when it comes to Cellmax, because Cellmax needs that damage reduction. The guard is not permanent, you know, and the stat boosts, he does get some nice stat boosts, but still, I just wish this were more accessible without all the category restrictions. So for me, Cellmax, number 7. I really had to explain that one because I'm sure a lot of you guys were going to be so pissed off that I had Cellmax number 7 and so low, but I really wanted to take my time and explain that one because, yeah, I'm sure a lot of you guys would just be looking at me thinking I'm crazy. But now number 6, maybe this is actually where you guys will think I'm crazy. Number 6 is going to go to someone who maybe a lot of you will think should be far lower on the list, Tech UI Goku. Now, for me, Tech UI Goku has been someone that I've been a fan of for a long time. I've always loved Tech UI Goku. But when it comes to Tech UI Goku, let me explain why I have him so highly in my kind of value. Now, obviously not highly in terms of the list because he's still number 6, but I still think I like him more than Cellmax for a couple of reasons. Now, for one thing, right, you know, Tech UI Goku, he has a lot of nice things in his passive. He has a lot of things to offer, right? For one, with his super attack effects, he is supporting his allies. So that is something that can be very impactful, obviously boosting their attack, boosting their defense. That is something we love to see, of course. And within his passive skill, he has a bunch of things to offer, right? The intro animation, which is very easy to achieve, right? Just one other Universe Survival Saga ally. He'll get the intro, he'll get additional key and attack and defense for 7 turns, plus an additional attack and defense for 4 turns as well. Also, he'll be giving himself 200% to the start of turn. Not the craziest stat boost, but that is still pretty good. Great chance to dodge, great chance to do a crit hit, has 50% damage reduction as well as extra 35% until he receives an attack to begin with. Once he receives an attack, he'll have guaranteed guard against all other attacks in the turn. He'll have additional guaranteed super after evading enemy's attack, and then he'll also do an additional attack with a great chance to super at the 2nd or 3rd slot unit in a turn. So basically, Goku is like a pseudo jack of all trades, right? He's supporting his allies, he has ability to dodge and everything, right? He has a chance to do a crit, so that's something there as well. He can do additionals. He has all these things in his passive, and also he has some pretty decent stat boosts as well. Now, it's not the craziest in terms of stat boosts, but yeah, he still has a lot of things as well. And also, I forgot to mention, he still has the guard, he still has the whole damage reduction. He has a lot of things in his kit. Now, when it comes to why people don't like Tech UI so much, it comes down to 2 things, really. One is that people say he can die, which is true. I mean, you could say the same thing for Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta, you could say the same for Jiren, you could say the same thing for MUI Goku, you could say even the same thing for Cell Max. But also, I mean, you could actually probably even say the same thing for these 5 as well in certain situations, right? Where Tech UI Goku, yes, he can eventually get himself killed in the wrong position. But also, some people really have the issue with his active skill condition, because his active skill condition is available to him when you reach the 5th turn from his appearance. So basically, around turn 5 to turn 7, that is when you can get Goku to go through his active skill and ultimately transform into his mastered Ultra Instinct form. And of course, people have a frustration with the active skill because this part of Goku is so immensely powerful that people are upset that it takes a moment to get him to this point. And I understand, yeah, I wish the active skill were available a bit earlier. But at the same time, the active skill condition is really not that hard. You don't even need some special kind of ally to reach this active skill. This active skill is really easy to achieve. So, for me, yes. I wish, it were maybe like from the 4th turn or the 3rd turn from the first appearance. But at the same time, it is still not that bad of a condition. And when we go into the Master Ultra Instinct form, all things are better again, because this man is so insane. You will see people go ahead and talk about Master Ultra Instinct Goku and basically say, hey, this Master Ultra Instinct form would be like number 3 or number 2. Like, that's how high people value the Master Ultra Instinct form when it comes to the UI Goku right here. But, I mean, there's a couple reasons why. For one, yes, he's no longer supporting allies with a 12 key, but he is boosting allies with support for the 18 key super right there. That's really nice. Greater stat boost right there. He has a guaranteed dodge for the first turn that he shows up, and he's also giving allies a chance to dodge by 10% as well. So he's actually supporting allies for that first turn with dodge as well, which can be very nice as well. Also, I mean, he's given himself a chance to crit and also a chance to evade enemies' attack right here, plus 20% per attack performed, and all that goes up to 77%, right? But this is where things get so crazy for MUI Goku. He counters with tremendous power after evading an enemy's attack. Every single time he dodges, he is countering. It does not matter if it's a super. It doesn't matter if it's normal. If he counters, or if he dodges, I should say, he is countering. And that is so awesome about UI Goku when he's in this mastered form. That is really one of the main reasons why people love MUI Goku so much, is all the counters. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just so great what he can do in this form. Also 20% damage reduction right here in general, plus an additional 40% until he receives the attack. Once he receives one, he still gets that guaranteed guard against all the other attacks in the turn. Bonus additional attack right here, and a chance to perform a crit and dodge enemies' attacks, plus another 20% if HP is 50% or below at the start of turn, and also performs a guaranteed additional super attack when key is 24. This guy has so much things to offer, and we're still not done, because there is one more thing about Tech UI Goku that is so important to talk about, because it is one of the most impactful things about Tech UI Goku's kit. When he transforms into his Master Ultra Instinct form, he also activates a domain, Shining World of Void. Now, the thing about this domain is this domain has the typical kind of setup, right? Boost superclass allies and enemies, stat boost attacking 50%, that's fine. Boosting attack for allies in the Realm of Gods category, that's fine. But also, disable enemy evasion canceling effects. Basically, there have been some recent fights that have been able to nullify dodge, right? And when you are able to face opponents with nullifying dodge, characters like MUI Goku, STR UI Goku, they are not safe because they can no longer dodge, right? With Tech UI Goku, you get him to activate his domain. You get him to transform into UI Goku, the Master Ultra Instinct Goku form. This domain will be active, and you will be re-enabling dodge for your other allies who need to dodge in order to survive. That is how great Tech UI Goku is. He's one of the few characters, in fact I think he's the only character with a domain that can reinstate dodge and say, you know what, I don't give a damn about what the game says for these boss mechanics, I want you to win, go ahead and get your dodge back. That is what Tech UI Goku's basically saying with his domain effect. And yes, again, I understand the active condition is annoying, but the domain, what he can do in his Master Ultra Instinct form, even what he does in his base form, I think it's just all so good, and we really can't ignore these things to the point that, I personally feel confident in putting him above Cell Max at number 6, because what he has to offer far surpasses what he is limited of, in terms of the fact that yes, he can get hit and take some serious damage in his base form, and yes, he has a bit of an annoying active condition. That doesn't matter to me. What does matter is he has so much to offer. Support, he can dodge, he can do crits, he can do additionals, he has damage reduction, he has guard. This guy is basically having everything that you want for a character, and that is good enough for me to put him at number 6. Now, looking at the top 5 though, this is going to be fun. Top 5, obviously we still have all 4 of the Worldwide Celebration characters, along with Beast Gohan, and I mean, yeah, we're going to have to start with number 5, of course, going to be Dokkan Fest Int LR Broly. Now, I've seen some people put Broly as far as number 9, maybe even number 10. But I do personally want Broly at number 5, because in terms of what he is able to do, I think it is very special in the teams that he is on. So, obviously, we go ahead and talk about him, being able to boost his attack and defense for 1 turn heavily with his 12 and 18 key super, also having a chance to further raise his defense and his attack as well, so that is really cool right there. Able to stun, so when that can be used, that can be very helpful as well. And then also with his passive skill, he has a lot of nice things for the teams he is on, right? For one, with his intro animation, which is very easy to achieve. In fact, there is no prerequisite to get his intro animation to occur. He will be boosting extreme class allies' defense by 40% for 4 turns from the character's entry. Let's just stop right there. He is starting off by supporting his extreme class allies. Typically, Broly's do not do this. Broly's are focused on doing their own kind of damage and going forward. But Broly here, he is focused on helping out his fellow extreme class allies, and that is something we love to see. Because some other allies, they need time to get cooking, and Broly can say, here, go ahead and take your time, I'm going to cover you, and by the time you're ready, I can take a step back and let you cook. That's basically what Broly is doing with this intro right here. Also, 60% damage reduction, 260% to the stats, that's really nice. Additional attack right there. Also, key +2 and recovers 2% HP per type key sphere obtained. This guy is not meant to die because basically you focus on getting him his type of orbs, he will be healing so much, it's almost like a free sensu bean in some sort of regard. So that is really nice right there. Also, he has a domain right here, of course, with his active domain, or with his domain being active, he will be able to be an orb changer for a few turns, also being able to guard all attacks guaranteed. So that is going to be very nice right there. Also, while his domain is active, if you are able to perform an attack with him, he will get attacks effective against all types for the rest of the battle, even after the domain is gone. So that is something we do not see typically with characters where their domain allows them to do something, and then once that domain is gone, they will still get a benefit after using the domain. Broly is one of those characters though, where you do his domain, he will still get the attacks effective after the domain is gone, so that is something I do like. I wish they will do this with other domains in the future, but it is really nice. Also, starting from the 5th turn from the character's entry, revives with 60% HP when the character or an ally in the same turn is KO'd. He is a revival character. That is something that is very special for certain kind of factions or certain kind of categories, like movie bosses maybe, or if like we go down to his categories, right? Even planetary destruction, uncontrollable power, full power even. Those things, now him being able to be a revival character for those kind of categories, that is so special. And I mean, his whole kind of condition for it is really easy. Starting from the 5th turn from the character's entry, that is basically the same condition as with Tekuai Goku. So, I mean, this is a very easy condition to meet. It's pretty consistent because once you hit that turn, bam, the revival is there. So this is really nice, very accessible, very easy to achieve, and the fact that it covers not only himself but all the other allies on the same turn, that is really nice as well. Also, I mean, he does kind of have the same kind of focus as MUI Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Evolved Vegeta, right? Where with his character or an ally's revival skill being done, he will get additional defense when receiving an attack, and also, if it's his own revival skill, not only will he get this, but he will also be able to change physical orbs to int key spheres and give uncontrollable power category allies additional attack and defense plus 60% at the start of his turn when he shows up after that revival skill is used. So Broly is so focused on being a support, it is kind of crazy, but also at the same time, he says, I'm going to let my other allies eat, but also I'm going to eat myself. I'm a big boy, I am hungry, and I want to do damage. I want to have damage reduction. I want to be able to tank as well. He has those things in his kit. Now, if I have to go ahead and be a bit critical about him, and the reason why I have him at number 5, it's a couple of things. For one, I do not like that he only has damage reduction. I wish he still had an ability to retain his guard, maybe if his domain was active and you do the attack. Not only is he getting attacks effective against all types for the rest of battle, but also maybe he has a high chance to activate guard. Now that is only a chance, but still, that would be nice for Broly to have in certain situations because yes, he still can get hurt in certain positions, like with a lot of the other LRs on this list, so that extra guard could be helpful for him. Aside from that, his revival is not nearly as high in terms of the HP recovery, so that can be kind of frustrating. And I mean, in terms of what he has to offer, it is kind of problematic in the sense that, you really do want his revival to be there, but at the same time, if you don't get his revival up, you're missing out on this whole kind of support. This support can be very important, and I wish this support was available in like the whole kind of general revival skill, but you really do want to hit this in order for this to work, and obviously if you run a double in Broly lead, you can only get this kind of revival up once. So this part of the passive is only available to one of the Brolys. That can be kind of annoying as well in terms of the potential we could have seen as a whole. So yeah, that does kind of suck. I mean, but in general, Broly, I love Broly, what he can do. He's obviously different from a lot of the other Brolys, and this is all really nice. Also, I don't want to forget this, right? With his active skill, he can create his domain for 3 turns. That is a very short time frame, which means you're in and you're out, and that is perfect because there are obviously other characters with domains in the game. Maybe you want to run the 9th anniversary Broly with him, so you get this domain up and running, you get it done with, and then you get the 9th anniversary Broly's domain up and running after. Pretty easy to access all of that. Now, when it comes to the conditions can be slightly annoying. Of course, activated when there's a Goku's family enemy, so you have to face certain types of opponents, but also when all allies in the same turn are uncontrollable power category characters. That can be annoying as well, but of course, to be fair, you are kind of incentivized to bring those type of allies currently in the game because a lot of them happen to be Brolys, but also because he happens to lead the category himself. So not only is he leading that category, also the category has a lot of great units with Brolys and all that sort of stuff, and also he himself, with his revival, he'll be supporting them anyways. So realistically, there's not much reason to not bring a bunch of uncontrollable power category characters, at least to get the domain active and at least to get the support and all that good stuff. So yeah, gotta love it. And of course, with his domain effect, he is giving a lot of increased damage received for superclass enemies, especially movie heroes. Typical kind of domain stuff. His domain, in terms of what it does, is not that special compared to someone like TQI Goku. But yeah, he still has a lot of nice things to offer, being a support and all that stuff. I do love what he has to offer, the revival and everything. I wish he had a bit more for certain things, but still, he is good enough for me to put him at number 5 personally. Now, number 4 is going to be going to another man, Tech Carnival LR Broly right here. Now, I would personally like to put Broly a bit higher because I actually love Broly. I mean, he's just been such a fun unit for me to use. But Broly, I do think, belongs on the number 4 position because at the same time, he is not perfect. Let's be honest. He's not a perfect character. There are certain situations that do kind of suck, so we have to kind of talk about the good with the bad. But when it comes to the good, right, starting off, Broly comes into his base form, right? He is unable to attack for that first kind of phase, which is kind of interesting in terms of what they designed him to do. But for that first turn that he shows up, right, he has 90% damage reduction as the first slot unit, and also as the second or third slot unit, 70% damage reduction, and he's giving extreme class allies a chance to perform a crit increase by 50% as well, giving them additional ki and additional stat boost as well. So that is something that's very interesting about Broly and very good about him as well. Also, guaranteed guard against all attacks that's facing his way, bonus defense right there. For the first turn that he shows up, Broly is one of the best defensive beasts in the game, and maybe you can actually kind of find ways to kind of keep him in this base form even longer, but for the most part, it's just really that first turn that you want him to be in this base form before you go ahead and transform him into the legendary Super Saiyan. Now, when we talk about the transformation, his transformation condition is one of the easiest transformation conditions on the planet Earth. In fact, I would probably just say the easiest one, because basically, it can be activated upon entering the attacking turn, which means turn 1, you can actually go ahead and say, I don't care about this damage reduction, I want to get Broly to the legendary Super Saiyan form and get him to start doing damage. Now, if you want to go ahead and hold off on that, you can keep him in the base form with the first turn. Next time he shows up, go ahead and transform him. This activation condition is so achievable, it's so easy, and there's no domain. There's nothing about this to prevent you from making this happen, alright? It's just a simple transformation. Now, when we transform into Broly, into like the legendary Super Saiyan, Broly becomes one of those guys, and I don't know why the image kind of just froze there. There we go, went to the legendary Super Saiyan, but Broly becomes one of those boys, because with his super attack effects, yes, he's doing very simple stuff, doing crazy damage, raising attack and defense right here. But with the 18 key, greatly raising attack, he is stacking with his 18 key. Also with the 18 key, he's doing mega colossal damage to all enemies. So that is an AoE super. That is going to be very helpful for Broly as well. Now, when it comes to the passive skill, he has a lot of nice things to offer. Obviously, a nice kind of stat boost right here, 50% damage reduction in general, which is nice, plus for the first 3 turns that he is in the legendary Super Saiyan form, plus an additional 26% damage reduction right here as well. So that makes him even tankier. Of course, we do wish that this 26% stayed a bit longer, but still, 50% chance, or 50% damage reduction in general, that's pretty good. Now, of course, additional 150% when performing a super, he's boosting his ki and his crit chance with each attack he performs, so that's going to be nice right there. Launches additional with a high chance to become super within the same turn after receiving attack, so they are saying, hey, put this guy in slot 1. But also on top of that, plus an additional defense plus 200% before attacking and guards all attacks as the first slot unit. So all of this is saying Broly is your first slot unit within a movie boss's team or whatever. You want him in the first slot for all of these benefits right here. Now, you can put him in the second or third slot, in which case he will miss out on this, but also he will launch an additional guaranteed super attack as the second or third slot unit. And also right down here, we keep going forward, right? plus an additional ki +3, and chance of performing a crit plus 50% when there is a Pure Saiyans or Warriors Raised on Earth category enemy, and disables the attacked enemy's action once within the turn when ki is 24. Now, a couple things worth mentioning here. With this whole kind of category restriction right here, it's not that hard to reach, but when you do get this, right, you are getting that additional ki, which is nice, and also the crit chance is nice, but with the 50% right here, plus the 50% right here with each attack he's performing, that means he can do up to guaranteed crits, basically, if you get this whole kind of passive available to him, so that is really nice right there. Also, I mean, we talk about the whole disabling enemy action. This is the thing about Broly, right? When you get his ki 24, he's going to be doing his AoE super right here, right? The 18 ki super. If you have, say, like 3 or 4 enemies, with all of those enemies getting hit by his 18 ki super, he will be disabling all of their enemy actions once with that 18 ki super. So that is one of the better kind of disabling enemy action kind of designs, because he can just do it to everyone. So that's really awesome right there, and I really do love that about Broly in terms of what he can do. Now, of course, in terms of some of the criticisms, right? He does lose a bit of his damage reduction. That does kind of suck. He does want that. Also, he is basically relegated to the first slot. Now, you can use him in slot 2 and slot 3, but really, to maximize his value, to maximize his potential, you want him in that first slot for the guard, for the extra defense, and all that sort of good stuff. Now, at that same breath, I mean, he is still one of the best kind of defensive units, because 50% damage reduction, plus the guard, plus all the defense that he is getting, he is going to be such a tough unit to kill. And that is one of the best things about him, is that he is just such a beast in that first slot where a lot of attacks show up. He is awesome for that sort of situation. Now, one thing I also want to mention before I forget is the active skill, right? So the active skill here, my battery's getting a bit low here, so hopefully that didn't show up on the camera or nothing, but for the active skill, right? Attack and defense plus 26% in the entire battle. This is so easy to achieve. You get Broly to transform into this mode. The next time he shows up in this kind of form, his active skill is available, and you just go ahead and activate it for that bonus attack and defense. It is so easy, so achievable. There's no real reason not to do this. That's the thing. So I got to give props to Broly. In terms of what he does it right. He does it good, and he really doesn't mess up a lot in terms of general fights. Now, I do wish he did have some more versatility, maybe having more things to offer in slot 2 or slot 3, maybe a bit of support to other kind of extreme class allies in this kind of slot 2 or slot 3 or slot 1 positions, but it is what it is. When it comes to he himself, it's just he, himself, and him. Like, he is just built to be that guy, and he's doing his thing perfectly. Now, that's pretty much why I have him at number 4. Obviously, we still have the top 3 to talk about. When it comes to the top 3, really, you could put, let me go ahead and do this. We could put Gohan at number 1, you could put Super Saiyan Trio at number 1, and you could go ahead and put Beast Gohan at number 1. Now, the thing is, depending on where you have these guys ranked, that pretty much defines what you value in a unit. So some people, they have Beast Gohan number 1, some people, they have Super Saiyan Trio number 1, some people, they have Gohan at number 1, and it really is fine whoever you choose. But depending on what you choose for number 1, that pretty much is telling all of us as a player base, as a community, what you value in a unit, right? So let's use this as an example. For Beast Gohan, let's say Beast Gohan was my number 1, which he is not. But if Beast Gohan was your number 1, what you're basically saying is that you value a character who has, let me go ahead and pull up his kit right here. You value a character who leads one of, if not the best categories in the game. You value a character who is able to boost his attack with his 18 ki, who can boost his defense massively. You value a character right here who is ready to fight out the get-go. There's no weakness to him when the fight starts, right? You value a character with a bunch of damage reduction, with the ability to guard against all attacks, with the ability to give ki to his allies, with the ability to gain more damage with each attack he receives. You value all of these things about Beast Gohan, and not only that, you value taunts. You value taunts because Beast Gohan is one of those characters with a great taunt, and his taunt protects all the other allies in the turn. So if you put Beast Gohan in the number 1 spot, these are the things you value about a character. You value the taunts, you value the damage reduction, you value a character who is ready to fight out the gate. But for me personally, I do put Beast Gohan at number 3 because Beast Gohan is a character that, while I do value all of those things, I think in terms of what he has to offer, I just value the Super Saiyan Trio and the Super Saiyan Gohan more than Beast Gohan personally, so that is what I will say there. And to be fair, that does mean that the era for Beast Gohan being number 1 is officially over. Now, for the other two, right, you know, if we talk about Super Saiyan Trio and Super Saiyan Gohan, right, starting with the Super Saiyan Trio, right, Super Saiyan Trio, the thing about them is, if you like this unit, which I personally love this unit, if you value them, you are valuing a unit who can support so many garbage characters that they are basically bringing those garbage characters back into relevancy. Think Super Saiyan 4 Tanabata Goku. Think these Dragon Balls, like the 8th year anniversary Z duo or the 8th year GT duo. this character is bringing those characters back into relevancy because of this part right here. All this, I mean, if there's another movie heroes or desperate struggle category ally in the same turn, plus an additional damage reduction for themselves, but also all allies gain defense plus 77%. With 2 Super Saiyan Trio characters, one for the lead, one for the friend lead, you are bringing so many characters back to relevancy because of the defensive support that these guys are offering. You basically are saying you value support to the end of time. And for me personally, I love these guys. Their support is so good. I love seeing what they can do for other teammates because that helps me when I'm trying to take some garbage units that I have, put them together on a team, and these guys basically say, hey, we'll hold your guys' hand, we'll help them make sure that they are ready to go to school and put in that work. So that's basically what I love about this unit. Of course, with the 18 key, also furthering supporting their superclass allies with attack and defense. I mean, they have a nice kind of stat boost right there. Randomly changing key spheres of a certain type for themselves, so that's going to be pretty nice. Also right here, all allies gain key plus 3 and attack plus 50% other than themselves, so they're also supporting the attack as well. Reduces damage received by 30% when they receive a super, so that is something for them individually. Also, you know, for them, the more key you get, they get stronger, so plus an additional defense plus 30% when receiving an attack for every 3 key. That can make them very strong. Also, plus an additional attack when key is 12 or more, launches 2 additionals, each with a high chance to become a super when key is 18 or more, and attacks effective against all types when key is 24. This guy has a lot to offer, or the Super Saiyan Trio, I should say, they have a lot to offer, but really the biggest thing about them is their support ability. Their support is so strong, and if you have them at number 1, that is really what you are valuing about them. And for me, if I go back to the Super Saiyan Trio, the thing about them is we're still not done. We still have the standby, right? Because we have the standby right here. If we go into the standby, they still retain their support abilities. Of course, they cannot attack other than the finish skill right here, but also guaranteed guard against all attacks. A nice kind of boost to their attack and defense right here. Changes int spheres to physical orbs for themselves. They gain additional key. Also, plus an additional defense plus 30% when receiving attack for every 3 key. And if key is 24, when receiving attack, reduces damage received by 59%. So that's going to be very nice as well. Also, back to the support thing, right? Plus an additional defense plus 20% for themselves per key sphere obtained, and all allies gain defense plus 7% for 2 turns per physical key sphere obtained. This guy is so focused on helping the others that it's crazy the kind of characters that he can make relevant again and make good once again in certain fights. And of course, you know, we still have the finish effect, being able to do a lot of damage. It's really nice. It's really, really nice, and I love the Super Saiyan Trio. Me personally, I would probably have like situations where I would say they're number 1 because I love them that much. But at the same time, for me, they're going to be number 2, and of course that means number 1 is going to go to Super Saiyan Gohan. Now, a lot of people have Super Saiyan Gohan at number 1. A lot of people also have Super Saiyan Gohan lower, number 2, number 3, maybe even lower for some people I've seen. But for me, Super Saiyan Gohan is going to be number 1, and there's a reason why I like Super Saiyan Gohan so much. And that's because if you value a character who does a lot of damage, who has one of, if not the best standbys in the game, who is able to do so much, this is what Gohan can provide for you. Now, is he the best support? No, I don't believe that. I actually believe the Super Saiyan Trio is still the better support. But still, this guy is doing support himself as well. Of course, he has the high chance to stun with the 12 key. He's able to raise superclass allies' his defense with the 18 key right there, so that is something of a support right there. Also right here, you know, being able to have 200%, but also additional boost to his attack and defense with each attack performed. Does not matter if it's a super, doesn't matter if it's normal. His stats are crazy. Also, with each super that he's performing within the same turn, he is boosting his attack by an additional 77%. His damage output is ballistic. It is crazy. He is one of the best damage dealing characters in the game, and I'm convinced that whoever put this kit together was just in La La Land. They were just they were having the best day ever when they made this kit because they were so happy to give Gohan everything that they wanted. Now, aside from that, you know, launches an additional attack with a great chance to become a super when key is 18 or more, when key is 24, plus an additional attack boost right there, plus an additional guaranteed super, and if HP is 77% or more, attacks effective against all types. Already, he has 3 supers built into his kit, plus the 4th one with the hidden potential system. Gohan can do a crazy amount of damage. Also right here, this is a minor thing to a degree, right? But it is still really nice. When there is another Kamehameha or Warriors Raised on Earth category ally in the same turn, plus an additional key plus 2, guards all attacks guaranteed, and if HP is 77% or less when receiving the attack, high chance to evade enemy's attack. Now here's the thing, he doesn't need that dodge. He has guard. He doesn't have damage reduction, that is a bit of a problem with him, but he does have guard, he has crazy stat boost right there, he's fine. But with that dodge, that is basically saying, hey, if things go sideways, if things are messing up for you, Gohan will give you that extra high chance to dodge, which is a 50% chance to dodge, just in case things go against your way. We'll help you out here. That's basically what that is. And really, Gohan He is so powerful. He is so good. And of course, this is not even, you could maybe argue this is not the best part about Gohan, because the better part, you could say, is his standby. Of course, it's a very easy condition right here. Can be activated if HP is 77% or less, or starting from the third turn from the character's entry. So this could be a turn 1 standby. Also, I mean, once you go into it, stands by for 5 turns, so that is a nice long period of time for Gohan. Within the standby, of course, you got the power of family altogether right here, unable to attack except for the finish effect. Also, attack plus 77% per superclass ally in the same turn, and if all allies in the same turn are superclass, which is a very easy kind of thing to meet, reduces damage received by 77%. Also, right down here, guaranteed guard against all attacks, plus defense plus 50% when receiving an attack per key sphere obtained, and also right here, plus an additional attack plus 258% when the finish effect is activated. And right here, if you get all of the Dragon Balls plus the charge count and everything, he is going to do the family Kamehameha. You see all the family together. He's going to do some of the most crazy damage. If you look at some of the Dokkan shorts right now on YouTube and everything, you are seeing this guy on the standby doing crazy damage. And, you know, I mean, aside from the damage, he's still one of the tankiest characters in his standby because the guard is helping him, the damage reduction is helping him, the defensive boost with the whole key sphere kind of stuff is helping him. I mean, he's covering everything. So, really, Gohan is fantastic. Now, again, I do believe for you guys, for anyone really, you could go ahead and swap these 3 around. You could go ahead and say Beast is number 1. You could say the Super Saiyan Trio is number 1, depending on what you like about various characters and what you want in certain units. Again, if you like someone who leads a fantastic category and has a taunt and everything and is ready to fight out the gate, you take Beast Gohan. But if you go ahead and you want someone who has a lot of support and you can bring characters back into relevancy, you take the Super Saiyan Trio. And if you like someone who does a lot of damage, who can basically wipe out bosses, who is able to have a lot of defense themselves and also do a lot of damage, you take Super Saiyan Gohan. And for me personally, I am taking Super Saiyan Gohan. Gohan is going to be my number 1, although I do believe the Super Saiyan Trio are a close second because I just love them so much, but yeah, they are going to be number 2 for me. Beast is going to be number 3. Tech Carnival Broly is number 4. The Dokkan Fest Int LR Broly number 5. Tech UI number 6. Cell Max number 7. Vegeta number 8. MUI number 9. Jiren number 10. That is going to be my personal list. And hopefully I didn't aggravate too much of you guys, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are very upset with some of the lists. But of course, if you guys enjoyed the vid, be sure to drop a like. Also, definitely subscribe as well so you can show support to the channel and all the stuff I do. And please comment down below how you guys disagree with this list. I'm very curious to see where you guys think I was just on a different kind of wavelength and I was just going crazy. Let me know in the comments below where you disagree, and obviously feel free to check out some of the other vids on my channel. But thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.